is a podcast about acting, but it has so much more to do with it, hopefully, than just acting and getting in movies and plays and getting famous and making $1 million and all those other wonderful things that I happen to, that I certainly, hope happen for everyone. But it's about creativity and human creativity, and we come to this as being two people who come from an acting background, from theater specifically. And if I've learned any one thing about acting over the course of the years, it comes down to this. At the end of the day, we're playing games and telling stories, and we're especially playing games when we're talking about improv. Mm-hmm. And you have so much more training in that than I do, but I have a fair bit myself. And I just think, even if people come into this and they want nothing to do with acting, mm-hmm. they can walk away with something that in some way can change their perception or the way their thought process flows or whatever, that they can take out of here, and it changes their life for the better. So that being said, one thing about acting is you really need to get out of your comfort zone and do things that you've never done before. Mm-hmm. And one thing I have never done is interviewed someone in an interview setting. And we've known each other for almost 35 years. And you would think I would know what she's going to say. And most of the time I do, but I put down some questions here. To be honest with you, I'm not really sure how you're going to answer this. Okay. And then you'll have a chance to get back at me later. Okay. But don't worry, it's nothing that's, but so that being said, I'm going to do my first interview by interviewing my wife, Kelley Cody Grimm.
Your first wife, by the way.
My only wife. The theater is my other wife.
Oh, no. I'll never compete with that biatch.
Okay. So, all right. You ready?
I am ready.
Okay. First question. What have your students taught you?
What have my students taught me? Wow. Patience, tenacity. Sometimes when we're playing a game like Emotions, when we're doing that with monologues, and I'll be throwing out, and we had this one gentleman who was doing, Carlos, who was doing a monologue about a detective trying to track down a female serial killer. Yeah. So, at first he's coming in like, detective, I'm going to figure it out. So we're, calling out all these, frustrated, angry, sad. And then we went love. And then he continued on his monologue with this very loving tone. And when he finished, all three of us looked at each other, and granted it was on Zoom, and we went, oh, he's falling in love with her. Total paradigm shift. And I went, wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's just, I think probably the best working relationship I ever had was with a guy who was so totally dissimilar from me. Mm-hmm. And the thing about us is that we had the wherewithal to talk and listen to one another and hold each other's opinions in equal respect and equal consideration. And what ultimately happens is, like, people will be like, I'll see things you'll never see, you'll see things I'll never see. But if we talk to each other in a respectful communication, we can disagree, but so long as respectfulness is there, we can learn so much from each other. And I mean, I've been humbled by students so many times. I mean, chokes me up a little bit at some points.
Oh, yeah. With the slates and, some of the things that they'll tell us that they've been through, and that, I guess that we've made it a safe enough space for them to feel like they can share that.
Exactly.
I really feel honored when they do share that information, and, just want us to say that, if they've been victimized and things like that, we're holding them in a secure, safe place. That they can feel that, where they don't feel like there's going to be judgment, but there's going to be support. And I think that's really important. Max and I, we've talked about that as teachers, is, sometimes you'll hear about these really teachers that are really tough and they want to break you and things like that. And the way we like to teach is we're building a foundation, and you can't build a foundation if right away you're going to try to shatter that foundation. It's not something that's going to be strong to build on.
Yeah.
So I would like for you to think that you can go out there and tackle anything and have that confidence, even if, you're going to get kicked down, you're going to be told. I mean, there's so many actors that I know, even well-known actors, that will tell you, like, I just went and got rejected. I was listening to a podcast with somebody who had done Scandal, and pretty high-end actress, and she just lost 3 auditions in a row. So it happens to everybody, and I think if you have that good sense of yourself.
It's probably my favorite thing about being a director is create a safe space to do dangerous work.
Yes.
That's my whole thing. That's the whole thing. And there's got to be trust. And I over the course of time, I went to a lot of people, a lot of different acting teachers and improv and mime and dance and voice and whatever. And there were some that were just flat out really cruel. And they were really on this narcissistic ego trip, and they would see these young people come in. It's like, I want to act. And they just would get them up there and humiliate, literally humiliate them in front of the entire class. And they would pick on the same people all the time. And it was so cowardly. And it was so, it was just whatever they had to teach that was really good. The way they would treat those few people, all that goodness went away.
Yeah.
Okay. I have another question. What bit of Shakespeare can you do from memory, like right now? We'll see that in 3, 2, 1, go.
Will you have heard, but something hard of hearing? They call me Catherine, that do dare speak of me.
You see what I have to live with here?
Wow.
What has been the one thing that has made you get the closest you've ever gotten to totally walking away from acting?
Oh. There's been so many times. And again, I think when you see people misbehaving, when you see people trying to take advantage of other people's naivete, the sexual harassments out there and things like that. And that's just, that makes me angry, because it's an interesting art form, but you have a lot of people getting into it for all the wrong reasons, or wanting to exploit that desire and that innocence. And man, when I see that, I just want to cold cock them into next week. It's like,
and it's a cash grab for some of these
and
people.
it's a cash grab, and
and it's just knocking people down. And when they're at their most vulnerable and innocent, and they just take their money and they knock them down. When
I see that, if I could just be like one of the Avengers and just fly in with my suit and just take them all out.
Well, that's kind of what you're doing in a preemptive state.
And we do try to preach that to our students, is like, hey, if it doesn't feel right, if there's something that you're going, I don't think I want to do this, that's a pretty good sign that, maybe you need to ask. And we have had students go, hey, if they want to charge me thousands of dollars for a producer credit, is that cool? And I'm like, no.
Well, now that you say that, the thing you have to do as an actor, not only in a business sense, but just in a creative sense, you have got to be able to trust your gut. You've got to trust your intuition. And the moment you start not trusting the gut and not trusting the intuition, and the little voice back there that's going, no, this is malarkey, or yes, go for it. When you ignore that, not only in acting, but in my opinion, also in life, anywhere, when you don't trust your intuition, when you don't listen, that's when
I've gotten into trouble.
That's me. And I'm sure
any number of people are nodding their heads going, so please, that little voice is there to protect you. So if that little voice is going, no.
I've heard Oprah has one, and again, I guess it depends on your faith tradition, but she'll go, you know what? I think I really need to pray on it. And that's, I think, a really good answer, because most people are going to go, okay, fine. And then she can back out of the room and figure out if this is the right thing for you. But, let me ruminate, think about it, meditate, all those I think are good. You don't have to give. And if they're pressuring you for an answer on the spot, that is a flag sign right there.
Yes. Two-part question.
Okay. 2 parts.
What is in your opinion, the biggest misconception about acting?
I think probably the sense is that not everybody can do it. I think to a certain extent, if you learn certain things, you can do it. My thing with improv is pretty much anybody can learn improv. The only difference between me and somebody who's just learning it is I have more technique under my belt. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make me more creative.
Well, it's just more life experience.
Yeah, more life experience. But that doesn't mean that if I'm on stage with a very imaginative 5 or 6 year old, that they're not going to be able to jump in and present something just because they're so open. And it would be a mistake for me as a performer to assume this 5 or 6 year old's not going to be able to hold up their end of the bargain simply because of age, because man, their imaginations are sponges. So, I think that's probably, the sense of, some people are going to be able to go and get the training. I mean, there are just things that you can't, what Helen Mirren does is so innate. You can't necessarily teach that. What Denzel Washington does, there's a certain innateness, but I think if it's just even as a life skill, being able to get up in front of a group of people and be comfortable talking to them and relating to them as who you are as a human being, I really think most people can learn that. And I think, I think the biggest mistake too is that there's an artifice to it, and oh bloody hell, oh whoa. But if you're just, being very genuine about it, I've been amazed at what, I had a young lady today, and her monologue is the amazing bubble machine. And she is trying to sell to her dad that he can build a bubble machine so they can float anywhere they want. And she's so cute with it. Mm-hmm. And that's what we said is like, you really want this. So, sell it, be that salesperson. And man, she nailed it.
Okay. Let's switch the order of the last 2 questions here.
Okay.
What have you learned from acting that has nothing to do with acting? I personally can answer this question for myself in a heartbeat. But
okay. What have I learned from acting that has nothing to do with acting is you'll figure it out. You will figure it out. That is usually what I have learned from improv is we tell ourselves, that's not a good idea. That could never work or whatever. And so we block the offers creatively that we give each other. But when you tell yourself, you know what, I can do this. I'm going to give it a try. And I'm not looking for perfection, but I'm going to strive for excellence. That for me was a real game changer. When I stopped trying to be
I remember being in the same room when that was said.
Yeah. And I went,
paradigm
shift. I don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
I can try to be excellent. I can be good. There is and as it was put to me, there's no such thing as perfection on this earth plane. And when I went, wow, you're right. It was like all this pressure that I've been putting on myself, having to weigh a certain way, having to look a certain way, having, am I enough? And when I heard that, I went, I'm not perfect. Okay. I'm going to be the best person I can be, but that best person is going to be imperfect. And it's those imperfections, I think, that make you interesting. If you were like totally perfection also can be a little boring. So if you have those imperfections, that makes you unique and makes you interesting. And that for me, just from acting is like, okay, give yourself a break. You are enough.
I want to say 2 things to that. What have I learned from acting that has nothing to do with acting? Empathy and compassion.
Yeah.
Having to walk in somebody else's shoes.
Yeah.
And the other thing, what you just said, I remember hearing a story about the Navajo Indians and like the master tapestry weavers. they will intentionally put imperfect threads through the tapestry, because if the tapestry illustrates life or whatever grand concept they're trying to expound upon with these beautiful, hand woven tapestries, they know you're not going to be perfect, and they intentionally put the imperfect lines through them to help convey that part of the story. So yeah. And I have one more question.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you keep doing this?
I love it.
Thank you.
I love it. I love creating. And there'll be times, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'll start to teach a class and I'm like, oh God, am I into this? Do I really feel like doing this? And then 2 minutes in, I'm like, yeah, let's go.
I still get nervous before classes.
Oh,
For
yeah.
as many as I've done, and you've done 10 times more than I have. Now you get to get back at me.
Okay.
All right. So I was watching an interview about acting techniques, and there's an acting exercise called hot seat. Okay, and that is, and but that's where when you're working on a character, and for a play or movie or whatever, you basically get up on stage or you sit in the chair, and then as your character, you are asked any amount of questions from everybody, from the director, from everybody else in the cast, for whoever happens to be in the room, and it can be anything, but you have to answer as your character. Okay, that's called hot seat. Okay, that's part one. Part two of it is, there's a thing I recently discovered called Proust's questionnaire by Marcel Proust, or it wasn't written by him, but he popularized it, and it's a series of 37 questions, personal questions. Don't want to mention it because I don't want to misspeak, but there's apparently some very prestigious acting company and the directors towards, like, it's part of their creative process when they're rehearsing these productions. At some point, they combine Proust questionnaire and hot seat. Okay. So what I'm going to, and the third thing I want to say about this, something I think there's very important in improvisation and in the creative process in general, is that of randomization. And just stuff can happen. And I always loved the story about, he was the modern dance choreographer, that is, Merce Cunningham. They never knew, he and his dancers never knew what numbers they were going to do and what order they were going to do them in, until about maybe 10 minutes before the show. And he would actually throw I Ching, and whatever order the I Ching came up in, these were the 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever it is dance numbers that they were going to do tonight in this random order, and nobody knew it until 5-10 minutes before the show. It's like an improv, and we'll see that in 3, 2, 1, go. And it's the same thing. So what I'm going to let you do here is,
I was wondering why we have that bowl.
I have this bowl full of little pieces of paper numbered 1 to 37. Okay, and over here I have written down Proust questionnaire, all 37 questions. So what I'm going to let you do is close your eyes. Okay, reach into the bowl, pick out a number. Okay. All right. What number do we do?
14.
Number 14. Okay. Find question 14
Let me put on my glasses.
and ask me. I'm not going to answer as a character, but which words or phrases do I most overuse? I won't say them here, but they probably have mostly four letters in them. Honestly, I like to be a poet of profanity sometimes.
Those spicy sentences.
I probably say too much, but like right there. But anywho is probably one.
I say okay way too much. Okay.
But I digress.
Mm.
And there's another and maybe I say to myself, this too shall pass.
That's not a bad one though. I think that's pretty good.
Go ahead. Just don't look.
What is your
motto?
motto?
Okay. Um, there's a practice in yoga, in meditation that I do. It's called the Sankalpa, and basically that is a short statement in the positive tense that you say to yourself 3 times when you are just getting into meditation and when you're just coming out of meditation, and that switches around. One I was doing most recently is "I am not the problem."
Oh, okay.
Another one is "I am replacing anxiety with gratitude,"
Okay.
is another one. But
I've got two that I can think of.
the one I will say is, and I've said this to myself my entire life, is my best days are ahead of me.
Mhm.
So what's yours?
Mine is a Lord Tennyson Ulysses quote, which is, "I'm a part of all I've met."
Yeah,
And well-behaved women never made history.
yeah, that's true.
Mhm.
Okay, you want to do one more?
We'll do one more. What is your favorite occupation?
Interesting. My favorite occupation really of all time, uh, in terms of the work itself, cooking.
Oh, okay.
Cooking. I will say also, I love directing. I love teaching. I mean, I love photography, and things like that. But as far as an occupation that you get up in the morning and you put on your uniform and you go out to battle and everything, I've learned some of the most patience in my life from working in kitchens. And I love food and I love feeding people. In most often there's so much chaos going on behind the scenes. But to me, I always felt like every morning or every day that I was going to go to the kitchen to work, and I was putting on my chef's coat or whatever, or putting on an apron or whatever, that I was putting on my gi and heading into the dojo. And for as crazy as that work is, and for as thankless as that work can be, I still loved serving really good food to people. It made all the rest of the chaos and the crappy conditions that happen in restaurant kitchens, but just making the end customer happy, and filling their belly with some good food and putting a smile on their face and some satiation and things like that. It's just I always loved it. I still do. I just don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
But 19 years in the food service industry. So anyway.
I love teaching. I love that moment when you're having someone say they're not creative, and then you have them run an exercise like the library where they're pulling a book off, and I'm coaching them through the story, and then they finish, and then there's this look on their face like, "Oh, did I just do that?" And I'm like, "Yes, you created that. You know what? You opened up your mind, and the universe went, oh, ideas, ideas, ideas." Those are the moments I love.
If I may close out, now that you said that, I just thought of it. One of the best definitions I've ever heard in relation to meditation and creativity and being an artist and the creative process and all that sort of a thing. And I heard this from David Lynch, actually, and I'm going to paraphrase this, but he said something like, when you're an artist, your head is kind of a box with an open top. And creative ideas are falling from the sky all the time. Okay. When you get into the process of like mindfulness and meditation and things like that, what happens is your box head becomes bigger. Therefore, it has just the greater space to catch more ideas that are falling from the sky all the time. And everything that has ever been created by man started with an idea. If you don't have an idea, in the words of David Lynch, if you don't have an idea, you've got nothing. And that's that's probably one of the best things I've ever heard. And really guided me in the whole idea of, combining acting and just the creative process and the psychology and the meditation and, why we keep doing this and what are we passionate about. Because the thing, I think you will agree with me, is that when you get a student and you ask them, why are you doing this or what are you passionate about, you'll watch their entire face change. Their whole demeanor changes, their whole vibration, their whole the tone of their voice changes. Everything just changes when you go, what are you passionate about, what do you love, and why are you doing this, and why would you keep doing this even if nobody was watching it, even if you never got paid. So that's all I have to say.
Okay. I think let's end on that note. That is a very high note.
Let's do that.
Let's finish with that. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and keep in mind that you can catch us on our social media, Creative Actors Lab on Instagram and Facebook, and by the same name on YouTube. And for more on what we do, you can go to our website,
creativeactorslab.com, all one word.
Please subscribe, share, and comment.
Thank you for listening. Stay curious, make art, not war. Much love until next time.